Gaming Geek coming at you again with part 2 of this tutorial on how to play Kill Team, although this is more aptly titled How Not to Play Kill Team, as I make a lot of noob mistakes with the rules going through this playthrough, trying to highlight the rules of the game. After I shot the video, I went online and wanted to double check the rules and found out that I got most of the rules wrong, and was thinking about reshooting the whole video again, but decided to go ahead with this version because I think it highlights a lot of the rules that new people might get wrong. And so this video really shows you all the mistakes that I made, but with corrections throughout it all, and that way you can see what rules you might be inclined to get wrong. A lot of the rules that I get wrong actually are because I didn't read the rules clearly, but some of them are really because the rules aren't written very well or clearly. They did come out with an FAQ, but I still think there's a number of things that are hard to know what you should really do. And so hopefully they'll come up with more answers to some of these questions about the rules. If you haven't seen part 1, go ahead and just click here and watch that first, as it gives a rules overview. I'm pretty sure I got most of those right. And then come back and watch the rest of this video. Alright, so let's go ahead and dive right into part 2 of the tutorial. We're going to be going through a couple of rounds until you get a sense of how all the rules work together. Here on this side we have the Tyranids. We have 4 Genestealers, and all of them have rending claws and scything talons. So they have 2 attacks that they're going to be able to make in melee. They have no ranged weapons. For my range support, I do have 2 warriors. One is a gunner with a barbed strangler. And this is my leader right here, Alice. She has bone swords as well and has the leader ability. One of the things that is interesting about the warriors is that they have a synapse which enables Tyranids to auto-pass their nerve tests, all who are within 12 inches of the warriors. And so I won't have to worry too much about my Genestealers failing any of their nerve tests. Also, one of the things that they have is Shadow of the Warp, which means that the Psyker will have a -1 to all of their tests. And so that is the Tyranids. On this side we have the Blood Angels. This is from the Space Wolf starter box, but I wanted them to match my Terminator, so made them Blood Angels. And this is my leader here, Ulfric Wormslayer, and I have put little beads on them to signify I can keep track of who they are. And then, as I mentioned in the previous tutorial video, I am putting in a Psyker into the mix. This Psyker obviously would not be in the same army, but again, I wanted to just show you how the psychic phase works. The points are pretty even. Over here we have 88 points, and then with the Tyranids we have 89 points. And so I didn't want to build out full 100-point teams just so that you guys could see how the turns flow with one another. So I'll go ahead and set up and we'll get started. Alright, so I deployed, and we are not going to go through the scouting phase. This gives you some options, but it's suggested that when you're first starting out with Kill Team, go ahead and skip this phase. There's just a couple of things that can happen before the first battle round begins. We're going to go ahead and skip that. This is not a regular scenario in the book. This is just to show you a quick battle between the Tyranids and the Blood Angels, and basically they need to get across the board and destroy whatever these machines are. And so with one action, one fight action, they're able to disable the other's machines. And so that's going to be the goal. And so they're going to be engaging with each other in these tight quarters. There's a lot of terrain, and so some of the kill lanes are closed off. And we'll go ahead and see how this battle goes. Also, before you start, this is the round marker. I don't have limits necessarily, but we'll go maybe 3 rounds. This also is your command points, and command points is going to enable you to do various things, special actions, by spending command points. Probably the most important one that you need to know when you're starting off is that you can re-roll 1 die by spending a command point. That's probably the most used a command ability in the game, and so that's probably best not to look at all of the different commands that you can do. I did go ahead and print out for each side the basic commands that is available to all factions, and then the faction commands that are here. I do have 5 extra that came with the box. It's not in the rule book, but for simplicity's sake, I'm not going to be using those. I did put a post-it note over this because it just doesn't apply to this battle, because this is specifically for Termagants and I don't have any on the board. Also over here, I have the same sheet for the Adeptus Astartes, and again, these are the ones that don't apply because I don't have those models on the board. And so every turn you do gain 2 command points if your leader is still on the board and not doesn't have any flesh wounds on them. And so I'll go ahead and walk through the commands each round, but we'll keep it relatively simple at this time. So we're going to go ahead with the initiative phase. Both sides are going to roll 2 dice. Purple is for the Tyranids, and so we have the Tyranids going first as they rolled an 8, and the Adeptus rolling 6. So we will go ahead to the next phase, which is the movement phase, and you do move all models on one side first. And so since the Tyranids got initiative, they're going to go ahead and move. The Genestealers do have a movement of 8, so they're pretty fast, and then the Warriors have a movement of 6. So I'm going to go ahead and move my warrior forward, his 6, and that's going to get him right up to here. So he'll still be behind cover, but we'll have a line of sight, and that is just going to be a basic move and not an advance. Same thing with the other warrior. Because this obstacle is 1.5 inches or less, he can just go ahead and climb over it without any penalty. Try to move more than 6. So I'll go ahead and advance. So I'll roll one of my die and add that to the 6. So he'll be able to move 9, which will be enough to get him over there. Him right over here where he has cover but has a shooting lane. And that was an advance. He is going to have a -1 if he chooses to shoot during the shoot phase with his assault weapon. And this is the Tyranid Warrior Gunner. Actually, he won't, because he is a heavy specialist. Here's the heavy tactic. I went ahead and printed that with the first level ability, which is Relentless. This model does not suffer the -1 penalty for shooting with a heavy weapon after moving in the preceding movement phase, or for shooting an assault weapon. He does not have a heavy weapon, but he does have an assault barbed strangler, and so he does not suffer that -1 penalty. I do have a command ability that does come with heavy specialists, and that is this tactic that in the shooting phase, I can add 1 to the number of shots fired by the model's ranged weapons. I'll go ahead and move each one of my Genestealers. He's actually not going to be able to move all the way up because he needs 6 to be able to move up. Oh, his number fell off. But I'm going to move him right up here so that next turn he'll be able to go up onto the roof. So I'll go ahead and move there, and he will end up approximately over here. Now this is hard because I only have one hand since I'm holding the camera with the other. And then these Genestealers down here will move and still remain in cover over here. I'm not holding any of these guys back for defense. They're all going to press forward. And so let me put the markers on there. Basically, everyone moved except for him. He advanced. And so that'll be relatively easy to remember. Although, honestly, I'm actually going to advance him. And I rolled an extra 4, so he will definitely be able to move up here. So I'll use an advanced token to mark his movement. So the Genestealers are quick, especially since they only have melee option. It is a Blood Angel's turn. They're not quite as fast, but they have to end up getting over there, otherwise they would turtle and let them come to them and shoot them as they come. But since they have to move, and their base movement is 6, 6 will enable him to crouch, still get cover here, and be able to set himself up for a shot at that oncoming Genestealer. So he just moved. He's going to risk it and just move up here so that he can shoot, but still stay in cover. So he will just come up here. I'm going to also put my leader up top to set himself up so that he has line of sight and can shoot. And then finally, the enslaved rogue psyker is going to be forced to move up here so that he has line of sight. And I think that's everyone on the Blood Angel side. So now we're going to go ahead and move to the psychic phase. And he is the only psyker, so he's going to go ahead and attempt Psi-Bolt, which is Psi-Bolt. Again, I need to roll a 5 or more. In order to do a mortal wound. And I didn't explain mortal wound in the first video, but I'll explain it this time as long as he passes this test, which is relatively easy for him to do. So he's definitely within 18, and he has line of sight to these two as well as him over there. And so I think he's going to actually target whoever's closest it has to be, but they're pretty equidistant, so he'll go ahead and target him. And definitely makes it, has a 9, and so he's going to go ahead and give him a mortal wound. Now what a mortal wound is and how it is different from regular wounds is that he does not get a saving throw and basically has to take the hit. And we skip all of the other rolls and go right to the injury roll. And the reason why we're going to the injury roll is because the Genestealers only have 1 wound. And so 1 wound will take him out. Otherwise, he would just take a wound and keep moving forward. But we take an injury roll when a character goes down to 0. And so we look at the modifiers, and the injured model will get a -1 because he is obscured and within 1 inch of a piece of terrain. And so he's going to go ahead and roll. Remember, 1 to 3 is what he wants to stay alive. He does get a 3, and so instead of dying, he takes a flesh wound. Now that the psychic phase is over, it is the shooting phase, and no one readied last action, everyone moved. And so we're going to take the initiative, which the Tyranids have, so they're going to go first. I can pick any one of my shooting models, which are these two, and I'm going to go ahead and choose to shoot with my gunner, who has a barbed strangler. And so this is range 36, so I think all of the characters are within short range, so there's no minus for long range. And it is an assault D6. So the D6 means I roll, and that determines how many dice that I roll. But because he is heavy, I think I'm going to go ahead and use the heavy tactic, which is to use a command point to add another shot. And so I go ahead and we'll reduce this by 1, and then roll a D6. Wow, so I'm going to roll 7 dice because I got a 6, and then I got a +1 for using my command ability. And so I'm rolling all of these dice. Now, what I need to roll right now is the Tyranids have a ballistic skill of 4. So with no other modifiers, it would just be 4 for him to hit him. But because he's undercover, that's going to be a -1, which means instead of 4s, I need 5s to hit. But because I'm rolling so many dice, hopefully I'll make some hits. So only 2 hits out of 7. So I'll go ahead and grab this dice and make now the wound roll, which again is the strength versus the toughness. The strength of this gun is 5, and the toughness of all of these guys is 4. So I have 1 strength greater than the toughness, which means normally when they're equal, I have to roll a 4+, but because I have 1 greater strength, I hit on a 3+. And so one of them is a hit, and now the Space Marine gets a saving throw, and that guy is Gunnar Grayman, and he has a save of 3+, which he makes. And so he is not wounded at all. I'll go ahead and put an activated marker here, and so now it goes to one of the Space Marines, so it alternates back and forth. He's going to go after him because he's the closest and doesn't want him to engage in melee. And so he's going to go ahead and shoot there. There is cover there, so it's a -1 due to cover. Their normal hit is on a 3+, and so it will be hit on a 4+, and it's assault 2, so he rolls 2 dice. And only one of them hits. Normally that would hit, but because he needs a 4+, this is the one that hits. He's going to roll on the wound table. It is strength 4 versus toughness 4. So it's equal, so he needs a 4+. And he does get it. Now that means the Nemesis, which is Crucius here, is a save 4+. And the reason why it's 4+, whereas all the other Genestealers are 5, is because he has an extended carapace. And so that basically gives him a save of 4+, which he makes. And so is not wounded any longer. So he has activated. And then it goes back here. And I'll go ahead and have my only other person with a gun shoot, and this is Alice, who is shooting with a Death Spitter, range 24, assault 3, and so 3 dice. And she has a ballistic skill of 4+. She'll go ahead and target him because pretty much he's out in the open, and so it has no cover bonus at all. So 4+s are going to hit here. So 2 hits, and then to roll for wounds, this is also strength 5 against toughness, let me see, 4, I'm pretty sure. So he's going to wound on 3 pluses, which wounds 1, and then the saving throw is a 3+. And saves, so no wounds there. So he's going to go ahead and shoot and try to hit the warrior down here. That is my leader, and the leader is shooting a bolt carbine, again 2, ballistic skill 3. Is behind cover, and so will turn into 4+ in order to hit. 1 hits. It is toughness 4 versus, or strength 4 versus toughness 4. So 4s will wound. And does wound. Alice has a, is that Alice? No, that's not Alice. That is Mel, but they're the same stats. Mel has a 4+ to save and saves, so no wounds there. So he has shot. Now the Tyranids, it would go back to them, but I only have 2 figures with guns, and so it goes back to Blood Angels. He's going to shoot down here. Actually, there's a little bit that is in cover, and so rather than just the 3+, we're going to need a 4+ to hit. Oh wait, he is shooting, let me see, number 2. Oh, actually is rolling only 1 because he does not have a bolt carbine. He only has a pistol, and that is a pistol 1. And that's why he's only rolling once and misses, because needed a 4. The last Space Marine is right there. He's going to go ahead and shoot here. Again, a -1. And I'm pretty sure he has a bolt carbine. This is Eric Trollbane, yes. And so he's going to roll 2 dice. Needs a 4+ because it's base 3, -1 for cover. It's 4+, no hits. Okay, so now we are going to transition into the fight phase. There was no charges. Normally any model who has charged would go first, but no one charged. But we're going to go ahead and move into the fight for your lives, which is the basic melee phase. Now, how melee works is you can do something called pile in. Even though no one is starting an inch close to an enemy model, the Tyranids are going to start because they had initiative this round. And as long as you are within 3 inches, which is true here, he can pile in. So any model can move 3 inches to engage in melee. And so he's going to go ahead and pile in. And that's my number 1 guy there. He'll move forward and do a melee attack. And so this is Crucius, and he has a weapon skill of 3+. He has 3 attacks. And then he has actually 2 different types of attacks that he can do. And so he's going to do Rending Claws first and then Scything Talons, which is good because each one of these is rolling 3 dice. So he's going to be rolling 6 2-hit dice total for this attack, which is what makes Genestealers really scary when they go into melee. So his base hit is a 3+ to hit, but because he has a flesh wound, that gives him a -1. So normally, instead of a 3+, he's going to need to roll a 4+ to hit. And so he does get 2 hits, and now he's going to roll to wound. He has a strength of 4, and Eric Trollbane has a toughness of 4, and so he needs to roll 4s here. Rolls double 6s, which, let me see here, with the Rending Claw. This is bad. Each time you make a wound roll of 6+ for this weapon, that hit is resolved with an armor piercing of -4, which is awesome for the Genestealer, but bad news because normally it would be AP -1, which means the saving throw that they have of 3 would go up to a 4. But at a -4, that turns into a 7, which is impossible for him to roll because he doesn't have any bonuses. So pretty much he will take 2 points of damage, which takes him down to 0. And now I'm rolling on the injured table. And because I did 2 wounds, I am rolling 2 dice, and I'm going to pick the higher of the 2. Which is the 6. The 4 would have killed him as well. And so Eric Trollbane is no more. Oops, Genestealer's coming with him. He stabbed him so hard that he's stuck on him. So that's the first casualty of the game. Fight phase is over. Now we go to the morale phase. Now we look at each side, and if half of the team is either has flesh wounds or has failed nerve tests or are out of action, then you roll. But none of that is true. We only have one person out from this team, and they're a team of 5, and so we don't need to worry about that. But we do have one guy over here who has a flesh wound. He would normally have to roll a nerve test. He doesn't have to roll at all because, remember, the ability of the Tyranid warriors is that Tyranids auto-pass nerve tests that are within 12 inches of the warrior, and he's definitely within 12. So we're going to go ahead to the next round. And each side will pick up 2 because their leader is still in play. So let's go ahead and roll for initiative. The Blood Angels are going first this time. And so let's go ahead and remove all of these. So the Blood Angels are going to move first, and we're going to go ahead and have our first charge. Olaf here is going to go ahead and try to charge him. Now, normally in a charge, I would be able to react. Again, I can move him backwards 3 inches. I'm not going to do that though. I'm going to keep him there. If he had a gun, he would be able to do Overwatch, but he doesn't. And so I'm going to go ahead and roll these 2 dice for Olaf. He has a 7, which I am pretty sure is enough to get him down, and then over. Sure enough, it is able to get him within 1 inch. And so Olaf has charged. And so he's going to have a charge token and will be able to attack first during the fight phase. I really want to get a Blood Angel up there because he would be able to have really good firing, lines of fire to everybody. But it's going to be hairy because he won't be able to get up there in 1 turn. And so instead, I'm going to aim with him. Also aim here. And he's going to go ahead and stay there. On the Tyranid side, he was going to go up there in case one of those guys moved over. But I don't think he's worried about that too much. He's going to try to charge, actually. I'm going to roll the dice and try to get over there because it looks like he's about 9 away. So the possibility is relatively low, but I'm going to try it anyway. So I'm going to declare a charge. He would normally be able to do Overwatch, but because he's engaged, it cannot shoot in Overwatch. And so instead, he's going to just go ahead and roll to charge. I don't get my base movement. I just have to roll. And I get a 7, which would be a fail. But they have something called Swift and Deadly. You can re-roll failed charge rolls for this model. And so I'm going to go ahead and re-roll and try to get a 9 or 10. No, I did even worse. So I can move only 5, which would get me over here, which is out in the open, but that's okay. I'll move him there. And I do use a charge token. It doesn't matter so much with the Genestealers because they can't shoot anyway, but that's to signify and show that he is unable to fight or do any of those things because it's a failed charge. I'll go ahead and just move here and prepare myself to shoot again. Here, I'm going to go ahead and try charging. So I'm declaring a charge to here. Even though Gunnar Greymane has readied, he is able to shoot in Overwatch. So he's going to go ahead and use his Bolt Carbine, which is 2. And he has to roll 6s. Whenever you shoot in Overwatch, only 6s hit. So he fails to hit, and I'm going to go ahead and roll to see if my charge is able to meet him. Let's see, is 6? No, 6 does not bring me within an inch. I just need one more, but again, because of Swift and Deadly, I can re-roll. Oh, one more inch, and I think that's going to be enough to get me within an inch. Not quite. So this is a failed charge. So I'll go ahead and move him, and he's gonna go here, just right here, and I'm gonna put a charge marker on him as a failed charge. Because he failed, I'm not gonna risk it too much and just do a base move, which gives me a move of 8, which will put me right beside my buddy over here. My Tyranid Warrior Gunner actually is going to move forward as well, and he has a movement of 6. He's going to go risk it and go out of cover and go here. He'll maintain some cover, but he'll go here and be able to move. All right, so that everyone moved, and we'll go ahead and go into the psychic phase. The closest, I think, is this one here. And he will go ahead and try his Psybolt, which he needs to roll a normally a 5, but because of the presence of the Tyranid Warriors, which gives a -1, that does not stack, so he needs 6. Oh, he does not get it. But the Servant basically re-rolls 1s on psychic tests. And so he's going to re-roll this. Oops. Gets a 5, and so will pass the test, and is going to go ahead and apply that to the closest enemy. We're going to go ahead and do an injury roll because that's a mortal wound and skips all of the other rolls. And there is a modifier of -1 because there is intervening terrain, and the target is within 1 inch of the obscuring terrain. 1 through 4 will give him just a flesh wound. 5 and 6 will kill it. Great. He gets a flesh wound instead of being outright killed. That is the finish of the psychic phase. We'll go ahead and move into the shooting phase. And so because the Blood Angels won initiative, they're going to go first. So he's going to go ahead and shoot this character. -1 for cover, base of 3, which means -1 will make it a 4. Actually, number 4, he will use his assault pistol, rolls 2. 2 hits. Go ahead and roll on the wound, which is strength 4 versus toughness 4. And so he needs force to hit because they're equal. And 1 hits, or 1 wounds. This character here saves on a 5+. And fails. And now it is on the injury table, -1 because of cover. And within 1 inch, 1 to 4 is a flesh wound. Oh, actually, because he already has a flesh wound, it goes back down to 1 to 3 is a flesh wound, and 4, 5, and 6 kills it. And so 5 kills this outright. So he is finished. So neither one of the Tyranid Warriors readied. So we go back to him, and he is readied, and he's going to shoot. He cannot shoot this Tyranid because he is in close combat within 1 inch, and you cannot shoot into where a friendly is in melee with an enemy. And so that is no longer a valid target, but almost everyone else is because he's not within 1 inch. He's going to go ahead and shoot him and try to weaken him. And that is my leader, going to use Assault 2. And does he have a clear shot? No. Part of his base is obscured, and so he has a -1. He's going to need force to hit. He hits 1. In order to wound, it's 4 strength versus 4 toughness, so it's equal, so he needs force, and does not make it, so it doesn't wound. Now begins the regular shooting phase. The 2 eligible shooters is the Tyranid Warriors because he cannot shoot because he's within melee. We'll go ahead and start with him. Actually, he's going to go ahead and shoot up here because there's no intervening terrain. It's a clean shot. That is my Tyranid Warrior Gunner. He's a heavy. I will go ahead again, use the command point to use the same ability, same heavy ability, which is to add another shot to hit. So reduce this down to 2, and I will roll, okay, D6 assault. Let's see how many. 5, so +1 will be 6. And in order to hit, I have a base 3+. And that is going to be 4 hits, which is great. And on the wounds, strength 5 versus toughness 4 means 3s will wound. Oh, only 1 hits. I'm going to go ahead and use another command point to reroll 1 die. And I still missed. So just 1 hit. He gets a save of, that's the leader, so save 3+. Makes it. Tyranid leader. She's going to go ahead and use the Death Spitter. She also is going to, although I think he might be under cover from there. No, I think he has a clean shot. Going to go shoot him as well. That is an assault D3. And needs 3s to hit. And so all 3 will hit. Wound roll will be, or strength 5 against toughness 4, so I need 3s. 2 of them will hit. He can save on a 3+, and saves on both. Wow, so it's very, very hard to hit because of the low save value for the Blood Angels. Olaf is going to go ahead and attack since he's successfully charged. He's going to attack first. And instead of using his pistol, which pistols can be used in hand-to-hand and melee, the combat knife is better because each time the bear fights, it can make 1 additional attack with this weapon. They have an attack 2 with melee. So let's roll all 4 dice since it gets 2 attacks with the combat knife. And he hits on 3s. So he has 3 successes, and it's toughness 4 or strength 4 versus toughness 4. So he hits on 4s, wounds on 4s. 2 wounds, extended carapace 4+. So save on 4+. And I don't think the knife has any AP. No AP on the knife. So saves. So successfully blocks. Now we go to the normal melee round, and if one of these guys would have been engaged, they would have gone ahead. None of them can. So these guys can't do melee attacks, but he can. And so he's going to go ahead and roll off against him. Now, because he has a flesh wound, he will have a modifier of -1. So he normally hits on a 3+, that becomes a 4+ in order to hit. He's going to go ahead and roll 3 dice to first use the Rending Claws. And hits on all of them because he needed 4+. Let's see if he wounds. It is toughness, strength 4 against toughness 4, so he needs 4+. He only wounds once, although he rolled a 6 with Rending Claws, which again makes it an AP 4-. And so Olaf actually, with a save 3+, with a 4+, that makes it a 7. So he is unable to roll a save. He's going to take 1 wound. But all Space Marines have, or Reavers at least, have 2 wounds. So that means he has 1 wound remaining. So he does not roll on the injury roll chart until he goes down to 0. But that was the first attack. Now he can go down and do Scything Talons attack.
So you go down if they have more than one weapon that can do that. They go through and repeat the attack again with that second weapon. The reason why over here you don't see Space Marines first shooting their bolt carbine and then their heavy bolt pistol and then throwing a frag grenade is because the rule is you can pick during the shooting phase to either shoot your regular weapon or a pistol or throw a grenade. And in fact, when you throw a grenade, that can only be done by your whole team once per battle round. And so even though all of the Space Marines have grenades, every round, every battle round, only one of them can throw one grenade. So let's go ahead and see. Scything Talons, I can reroll hit rolls of 1 for this weapon. Again, I need 4s. I still use the attack value of 3. And I can reroll 1s. And that means I get 3 hits. On the wound chart, it's strength 4 against toughness 4, so I need 4 pluses. And I get 4 hits. On Scything Talons, 6s don't do anything. There is no AP, so it's a straight save value of 3 plus. Oh, and he only... Oh, if I use a command point I can only use a command point to reroll 1 of these, so I still will take 1 wound, and that does take him down to 0. And so we do need to roll on the injury chart. There are no modifiers for the injury roll, and so he just needs to roll a 1 through 3 in order to stay alive. Oh, a 6, which means he is dead and is pulled off. Although, you know what, I've been forgetting that the Rogue Psyker has a pistol and a Chaos Stave, and so I have not been using him at all. I've been only using his psychic attacks. So he's going to go ahead and use his pistol, which has a strength 3, damage 1, range. So he's going to go ahead and shoot at him with his last pistol. And so he has a weapon ballistic skill of 4 plus. But there he's obscured, and so he will need to hit on 5 plus. It's just 1 die. Oh, and hits. Let's see if he wounds. He is strength 3, it's strength 4, so he will need to hit on a wound on a 5 plus, and doesn't make it. He should have done that during the shooting phase. So now it is the morale phase. It is 1 out here. Still not half of any team, so there is no danger, no need to roll whether or not the team is broken. None of the Space Marines have any wounds, so they don't need to make nerf tests. So we're on round 3. We increased each one by 2 more as the leaders are still in play. We're going to go ahead and roll off for initiative. So it's 8 to 10. The Tyranids are going to go first. They have initiative this round. And they're going to move. Yeah, pretty much he's going to be able to make it and win this round. With a base move, he'll use his melee round to go ahead and damage this and potentially win. And so what he needs to do is turn around and attack. So let's remove all of these markers first. So he's going to go ahead and charge, so when I declare, he's able to react by either going backwards or by shooting Overwatch. He's going to go ahead and shoot Overwatch. He needs 6s. He does get 1 6, so let's see. On the wound chart, gets it, gets the 4, and then the saving throw on this guy is a 5 plus. Doesn't make it. And so now it's the injury roll. There is intervening terrain, so 5 and 6 will kill it. Rolls a 5, does kill it. So that was actually his Overwatch. So he's done with that, but he's going to go ahead and charge in. 3 definitely has range. And so he'll just move here. The gun is in the way, but it just basically shows he successfully charged in. Oh, before that, he would get another Overwatch. So again, 6s. Gets another 6 and hits. So let's see if he wounds. He needs a 4. So it's still force. And doesn't make it. So that was a successful charge in. He's going to go ahead, charge up here. Well, before I charge, he's going to go ahead and shoot Overwatch. Need 6s. None. Charge is 6 enough to get him up there. 2 up. Yes, that is enough. So he's going to successfully charge up here. This guy will just do a move over here, but will not be within an inch of anybody. So that's all the Tyranids. They moved. Now it is the Blood Angels' turn to move, but they are all tied down. So unless they want to retreat and lose their shooting or their close combat ability, but this guy is not within an inch, and so he's going to go ahead and just straight move, and he's going to try to go after the objective. His base move is 6, so he's going to go ahead and try to advance, and so I roll and add 5 to the 6, so he can move 11, and he needs to skirt around this gunner and stay at least an inch, more than an inch away, so that he can move around him. So he's going to skirt around here for 8, and then over here it's going to be 3 more. So he's going to end up over here. And we'll put that on there. He has no assault weapon, so we won't be able to shoot during the shoot phase. They cannot aim because you can't be engaged, can't have an enemy. We'll go ahead and do the next phase, which is the psychic phase. Even though he can't shoot, he can actually do a psychic attack, which he will go ahead and do to the closest, which is him, the Tyranid warrior, and need to get a 6. Oh, he rolled a 3, but we'll roll this one, re-roll because of his ability, and actually fails because only got a 5 and needed a 6 due to the Tyranid warrior's shadow in the warp. Psychic phase is over. Now we turn to shooting phase, and no one can really shoot because they are engaged. Everyone with guns are engaged in melee. So we'll go ahead and skip over to the fight phase. The people who charge first are going to go first, and so let's go first with this guy who is the gunner. He has bone swords, which is a -2 AP, damage 1, and gets 1 additional attack. So there's 2 attacks that are going to happen with the bone swords. That's going to be 6 dice that we're going to roll. And so he needed basically 3s, and he hits half of them. To wound roll will be toughness 4, or strength 4 versus toughness 4, so he needs 4s. Hits twice. And then the save will be a regular 3+. Saves 1, but takes 1 hit. And so he will be 1 wound on him. Up top, we'll do the same thing. Bone swords, 6. And need 3s to hit, I think. Wow, that is all 6 hits. And so we'll go ahead and roll to wound. I need 4s. And that is 4 hits. And so saves on 3s. Oh, fails 3. Even if I use a command point to re-roll 1, he's still going to take 2 wounds. And that kills him. that is the leader, and so that means every round, instead of getting 2 command points, they will now only get 1. But he's going to go ahead and take that out and will actually win the scenario. That is basically how the game plays. Hopefully I got all the rules in for you. And if the game would have gone on, they would have had to have rolled a broken test because half of their models are out of play. And the way that the morale roll would have gone is to use the highest leadership value, which right now is the Rogue Psyker, which is 8. And so you roll 2 die, and they would have failed. And so the team would have been broken, which gives them a -1 to hit on both shooting and on hand-to-hand combat.
So that's how you play Kill Team, or how not to play Kill Team. At some point, I promise that I will post some bat reps where I do get the rules more right than wrong, but hopefully this was helpful in at least getting you started with Kill Team.